Hi there, my name is Richard McMunn from the interview training company passmyinterview.com, and in this tutorial I'm going to teach you how to pass a leadership interview. So it does not matter which leadership or management role you are being interviewed for. Please make sure you watch this tutorial fully from beginning to end, because I promise to help make you the standout candidate. Now, to achieve that goal, this is what I will cover. I will give you a list of common leadership interview questions that I recommend you prepare for. I will explain how to structure your answers to those leadership interview questions to gain the highest marks possible. I will also give you top scoring answers to give you an idea of how to structure your own responses, and then I will also talk about further resources you can get access to successfully pass your leadership interview. Now, very quickly, before I get into those leadership interview questions and answers, a very warm welcome to this presentation. My name is Richard McMunn. That is me there in the center of the screen. I've been helping people for 20 years now to pass their interviews. I am a former fire officer myself, so I have vast experience of being a leader, and I always focus on giving you top scoring answers you can't find anywhere else. On that basis, please make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking the red button below the video, and then you are not going to miss out on any of the weekly training videos I upload. Please also connect with me on LinkedIn. I've put my LinkedIn link in the description below the video, and it's always good to connect with like-minded leaders and professionals such as yourself. And please also make sure you hit the like button, because that tells me you enjoy the video, and I will therefore create more content for you to help you pass your interviews. Okay, let's get into those leadership interview questions, the tips, and the top scoring answers. So, first of all, what are leadership interview questions? Well, leadership interview questions assess a number of things. They assess your ability to take responsibility for situations that require direction and control. They also assess whether or not you have the qualities needed to excel within the leadership role that you are being interviewed for. And also they assess whether or not you will be able to lead a team of people confidently towards the organization's goals and objectives. So how do you prepare for a leadership interview? You do three things. Number one, you look at the organization's values and their mission, and you think to yourself, what are they trying to achieve? Because then that will help you to align your own skills to their objectives. Now, you should also, when preparing for a leadership interview, think of situations you have been in previously where you have demonstrated strong leadership capabilities. And I will give you some examples in the answers to the leadership questions that are coming very soon. Also, think about how you can align your leadership skills to their needs. So this proves to the interviewer then that you are able to add value to their organization. And I'm going to give you a list of 8 leadership skills that will impress the interviewer. The first one is your communication capabilities. So when you are communicating as a leader, you need to communicate with clarity and purpose. The second one is that you should always insist on setting the highest standards achievable for both yourself and the members of your team. The third skill is having decisiveness. Now, great leaders make decisions and they take responsibility for them. They don't blame other people. They take responsibility. The fourth leadership skill is relationship building. Now, building positive relationships both with people within your team and external contractors and stakeholders will help you to achieve the organization's goals easier and quicker. Leadership skill number 5 is having the ability to teach and mentor people. So when you are a leader, you have to identify those people within your team who have potential, and then you encourage them to develop. Number 6, make sure you have vision as a leader. So great leaders always focus on the long-term vision or the goal of the organization they are working for. Number 7, one of the most important leadership skills is being able to influence and negotiate. So great leaders can persuade people to follow their course of action. And number 8 is self-awareness. Be aware of your own strengths and your limitations. It is perfectly okay to have limitations. Just be aware of them. Okay, let's now get into those leadership interview questions, and let's start putting those leadership skills into our answers to the questions. So the first question, how would you describe your leadership style? So keep your answer to this leadership interview question relatively short, but focus on your main strengths and how these will benefit their organization. Here is a top scoring answer to that leadership interview question. How would you describe your leadership style? I am a visionary-led transformational leader who always focuses on achieving the commercial and strategic goals of the company I am working for. Now, to me, leadership is all about persuading people to willingly follow your course of action, and I would achieve that through empowering and motivating my team to be the best they possibly can be. Now, although I do have a set preferred style of leadership, I am also flexible and adaptable, and I will change my approach to leadership as and when the situation requires me to do so. That is a very confident answer. You are giving your style of leadership, you are explaining what leadership is, and then you are also demonstrating that you are flexible and adaptable, which is very important. The next question of your leadership interview: how do you handle disagreements in your team? Now, disagreements in a team can actually be helpful and constructive. However, if they turn to conflict, they do need resolving. And as a leader, it will be your responsibility to facilitate that process. So here's my suggested answer to the leadership interview question: how do you handle disagreements in your team? I am the type of leader who encourages team members to challenge decisions professionally and constructively, as this facilitates open debate, the creation of new ideas, and also continual improvement. However, if the disagreement turns to conflict, I would step in to resolve it using a 4-step process. Step 1, I would acknowledge the conflict and establish the root cause quickly. Step 2, I would encourage the team members to resolve it amicably for the benefit of the team and the organisation. Step 3, I would facilitate the resolution of the conflict myself if the team members were unable to do so. Finally, step 4, I would ask, what have we learned from the conflict so we can all continue on our journey of improvement and development? So you are mentioning there in your answer that you see there is a benefit sometimes to disagreements. However, you also have a simple 4-step process for dealing with conflict at work. The next question: when have you had to make a difficult decision as a leader? So it's really important you use the STAR technique to answer this leadership interview question. So here's a model answer to help you. By the way, don't forget, I hope you're enjoying this. Please do hit the like button. Thank you very much. Here we go. Whilst leading and managing a previous team, an opportunity came up for 2 team members to attend a much sought after training development course that was to be paid for by the organisation. It was my duty to choose 2 people from the team whom I felt were best placed to attend the training course and to help the organisation to achieve its goals. Now, this was a very difficult decision to make, primarily because I had one particular team member who deserved the training course more than anybody else. However, she was currently working on a vital interdepartmental project and I simply could not spare her. Now, when I informed her of my decision, she was extremely disappointed and I could detect she felt demotivated as a result. So I started to explain to her the thought process behind my decision and how I valued her immensely within the team and that other opportunities would arise later on at some stage in the future. She took on board my comments, and while she was still disappointed, she carried on her current role with professionalism and diligence. Now, later that year, I actually put her forward for a temporary promotion, and she went on to be very successful within the company. So that question is a difficult leadership question, but your answer there is showing that you can make tough decisions in the best interests of the organisation. And you can also motivate the individual who's disappointed to keep them progressing within their role by explaining the reasons and the thought process behind your decision. Now, you'll notice there that by using the STAR technique, situation, task, action, result, I am able to construct a rock-solid, confident answer that provides evidence of where I've been in that kind of situation previously. The next question: how do you monitor the performance of the people you are leading? So this is a tough leadership interview question to answer, but make sure you have a set process in place for monitoring your team with both structure and purpose. And I will give you an answer now that demonstrates how I personally have led teams previously, both in the fire service as a station commander and also whilst running my own business. Here we go. I start off conducting performance appraisal reviews to ascertain where each person is within the team, what their strengths and weaknesses are, their career aspirations, and also to set them targets and objectives to work towards. Now, this gives them something to focus on, and me as their leader, something to measure their performance by. I will then encourage and motivate them, hold periodic discussions with them to check how they are progressing, and also make sure they have the necessary training and the resources to achieve their objectives. So that's a simple answer, but it is highly effective. Now, the next thing to do is to click that link in the top right hand corner of the video. It will take you through to my website, passmyinterview.com. So have a look at the leadership competency interview questions that I've included on that page, and please make sure you prepare for them during your interview preparation. You can also download the answers if you want to, and they are all top scoring answers to the same caliber of the ones I've just gone through. Don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn link is in the description below the video. Please subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit that like button, because that tells me you love the content, and I will therefore spend more time creating it for you. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all the best for passing your leadership interview. Have a brilliant day.